Hi there, I'm back for part 2 on this. There'll be probably many parts. You may not have saw part 1 where I just did the sketch. I do want to make a few adjustments before we get going on it. I did ask, I put it out there for your opinion on whether you thought I should continue on with this or do the other angle that I had, and it was funny. I just put it on a little bit ago. You know me, I can't wait to get back to it. And the only response I got was do both, which is what my husband said, just do both. So that may be what I do. So I'm gonna move on with this one, but I do want to make some adjustments before I go forward with it. Some things that I see before we start laying in color. I do see that this is not quite as long as it is here in the photo. It seems like a longer span from it, but I don't know, that it matters. This is not a commission. And the cupola, the thing, I want to redraw it. Yeah, we'll see how far we get. I was saying I needed to order paints when I was on here before. I ordered paints while I was gone. I got on Dick Blick. I order my Cobra paints from Dick Blick. The Centurion panels that I like to use, however, I order those from Jerry's Artorama because Dick Blick doesn't carry them. But I've ordered for years off of Dick Blick, and I really like them. They are fast. There's really no reason to ever pay for really the faster shipping because they get it here really quick. And if you've got a problem, they back it up. And I've always been real pleased with them. Just making some little adjustments before we dive in. This is basically, I can't even really tell what it is in the photo. I guess it's a doorway into there. It's an unusual barn, but it doesn't matter who's going to see this actual barn to compare it. It doesn't matter. We just want it to look good. Husband, I told him the foreground I was going to do was probably that one that I showed you in the last video. So I may or may not include the cows. He said, if you put cows in, you got to have a fence. Well, that's his opinion, Of course, if it was real life, you'd have to have a fence, but this is Barbie's world. All right, we'll get a brush here, and we could start any place, like always. But I think we're going to block in those greens back there. If you were working in acrylics, which acrylic painters do that sometimes, they block in their sky and paint over top of it. Even if I was working in acrylics, I probably would not work that way. I like working back and forth. All right, we're just I've got ultramarine and Indian yellow on here, that dark transparent mixture that I like. So I'm just gonna go around and put in the darker greens that I see first. I wouldn't have to do it that way. I could block the whole thing in and come back with a lighter green on top. Again, I've said it over and over, but I kind of work instinctively and make decisions as I go. Nothing wrong with that. Even if you had definite plans, it probably wouldn't work out that way. You'd be making changes anyway. Getting dark earlier around here. Been watching some of the news on the hurricane down there in Florida. Those poor people. And the stupid thing is moving 8 miles an hour. So it's going to be on them for the longest time. We have some friends that just moved to North Carolina, and it even looks like it's going to, go across them. I have some friends that's right on top of down there too. Port Charlotte, I think they're in. I think I'd have gotten out. I know it'd be hard to leave your home. And a lot of times they're wrong, so you think, do you go or not? Years ago, my brother, who lives in Texas, sent his family away, but he stayed. And they got hit hard. And he was without electric, and all of his food went bad. And they say fill up your tub with water, which is a great idea. At least you got that water. I'm not sure he did that. I don't think the weathermen are wrong so often that you don't always listen to them probably like you should. They knew this was coming though. We've known for a while. I want to keep the top of that steeple. You can see I just kind of suggested trees, and I may change this tree line to make it more interesting. We'll see what I feel. Yeah, I got a lot of things in the works, so I don't know, I'm kind of feeling like say doing a few bigger ones. I got 4 of the 20 by 20s here that I'll be painting over time. And you're off at a little bit of an angle today out of necessity. I'm standing, this canvas is big. In reality, I cannot see back in here. There's another building yet, but I'm hoping it might give it some depth. The fact that I did not close it up right there. Went out, I think I told you that in the last video, went out and plein air painted again yesterday. And if you've not ever tried to plein air, you should give it a go. Get you a view catcher. You're going to need a view catcher because it's overwhelming out there. And another thing I do is I walk around and take photos before I start. A lot of times through an image on your phone, your camera, however you take them, it's a good way to view what if you walk around and say you get 10 photos, it just interesting to look at them that way through the lens. And sometimes things just grab you right away. That's what you want to paint. All right, let me think a little bit here. I do want to create a little depth in some areas, pull some trees back. So I want to cool some of them off. Some ultramarine and some white. Try to pull them back a little bit. And the ones that are in the back are going to be higher. But anyway, that's a good way to look through the lens like that. And sometimes, rather than with your eye. And you can set up your composition before you take your photo. Consider that before you just shoot it. Setting things up into a good composition. And I don't look at my photos when I paint, but you can. I mean, you shouldn't do that for a competition. But if you're just out there learning to plein air paint, and it helps you to have your phone there and look through your phone, then do that. We do have one gal that paints with us, and that's how she paints. She's a watercolorist. She'll take photos, and then she sits down and works through her phone. And in my opinion, that's not really plein air, but that's okay. I mean, we're not, again, it's not a competition. You know, she's doing it for herself mostly. You know me, I like working from life. I like the whole challenge of working from life, whether it's a still life or it's plein air. It's hard, and I like that. I just, so I've cooled off the tops of some of those where those would be my most distant trees, I think. And we're going to warm them up a bit as they come toward us. You know, and in the long run, this may not be enough paint. This may be too thin, and I may feel like I have to go back over it. So that's okay. Might want to think a little bit too about actual, you know, individual trees. Like maybe here is a tree in the foreground, and maybe in here. So maybe you want those to be a little warmer. You know, let's try that. Let's warm that up a little bit and see how that looks. And we can come in and introduce some branches, some tree trunks if we want. Just to warm back up. We cooled off, but we're supposed to warm back up, so maybe we can get out and do a little plein air painting soon again. Those videos seem to do better than others, so people must enjoy that, I guess. And we're not doing, you know, even though I've drawn the image on, it doesn't hurt to go into the image. You know, you don't want to paint around it and do like a color book image. You get too tight then, you know, so. I'm kind of mixing on the canvas there, as you can see. I do that sometimes. Let me see here. Again, I mean, go ahead and pull it onto there. It doesn't hurt. So I'm jumping around, warmer greens, cooler greens. Sometimes throwing a little more yellow in. Trying to pull the strokes down too, because when you pull them across, they catch light, and they, I don't know if you can see that from there, but they stand out more. And sometimes even later when they're dry, if you're exhibiting at some place, they'll still catch the light. So and you can scrub it in if you want. Depends on if you're interested, if you're a person that want to see the brush strokes. They call it mark making. A lot of people, that's very important to them. And it feels more like trees, I think, if there's some texture in there. Try to remind myself to stand back often and try to hold across the brush at the end a lot. So, because I'm painting, I'm not drawing. And this is an 1.5 inch deep canvas, so I'll be painting the edges. I will not be framing it. Some advantages to that, isn't there? So it's blocked in. Whether or not it's right, it's too soon to tell. I can see some of the orange coming through, which I want. All the edges are soft pretty much. So let's go ahead and block in the sky while we're at it. Hopefully this is pretty accurate. Going to stay with the same brush. Clean him up here. I'm using a Rosemary & Company bristle brush. Ultimate long flat. I like long flats. I've found that's my favorite. And I'm going to take cobalt and white for the sky. I'll put that at the very top, and as we work our way down a little bit, I'm probably going to warm it up with a little yellow and a little white. And I'm going to put a little solvent in it so it moves around a little bit better. And I'm going to try not to cover all the orange. You know, so if I leave too much showing, I can always come back, right? But if you take too much of it away, then it's gone. It's one thing about painting big like this. I'm going to go through a lot more paint, so nothing wrong with that. I just have to try to mix more. Got a little shadow there. There. And when, as far as edges, we can talk about that a little bit. Some people, when they use these deep canvases, they'll paint the edge black. I've seen a lot of people do that. Some people don't paint them at all. They leave them white. I don't care for that as much. I don't think it looks finished. I have the orange and pink on here that I ran around, but what I will probably do, rather than, and I could just do, say it was a still life, I would probably then do one color similar to the background around the whole thing. But sometimes I'll run I'll run this green around the edge and the blue around the edge. You can't even see. Let me crank you up. But sometimes I'll just continue what's in the painting all around the edge. I like that. I think I like when I see that. But again, it depends on the painting. I wouldn't do that probably with a still life, but I probably will with this one. Sorry you couldn't see all that. Unless I put you way back, I'll keep trying to remember to adjust you around so you can see what I'm doing. But unless I move you way back, you're not going to see the whole canvas at once. I think I want to go a little further yet before we warm it and cool it. I went in the other day, you know, when I did the plein air piece, if you watched that, and talked to the neighbors that were by where I was standing, and my husband grew up just down the street from where I was painting, and they invited me in. They had one of my mother-in-law's paintings because she was an artist. So I went in to see it, took a picture of it to show my husband. it was of their house, and she had painted it down the street from not far from where they lived. So it would have been in the 50s, or they moved in that area in 1950, so would have been maybe in the 50s. I don't know, I find it pretty fascinating that my mother-in-law was standing just down the street from where I was painting plein air. I bet, I just, back in that time, I don't know that it was a real popular thing to do like it is now. I mean, it is a big thing now. But you wonder what her neighbors thought even, I think it's cool. She was a very neat lady. She just full of life, and everything she learned to do, she ended up teaching. She taught she taught swimming, and she taught painting. When she was, in her 70s, she took a master gardener course and completed it in record time. She loved to learn. She didn't get to see the internet, though. She didn't live long enough for that. She would have loved it. She did have a computer, and was having a ball with that. We weren't even sure what she was doing on it. She'd stay up half the night, and I don't know. I don't know what she was doing. But she was a character. I was lucky to have. I've had two wonderful mother-in-laws. Okay, now we're getting a little lighter, a little warmer. Might be too light, we'll see. The sky in the picture is absolutely flat. There's just nothing. I'm going to zoom in on this cupola a little bit and make sure I go in far enough, Takes a while to cover a big canvas too. I think that's part of the reason I enjoy the little ones, especially for plein air. When we go on our trip, I told you we're going to Augusta, and in October. I'm going with my group, and we're going to paint 3 days. I'm going to take one of those 6x18 panels. My intention is to paint a block of buildings in the town. So that'll probably take me all day, one day. But I want to do like a panoramic street scene. I'm excited about the idea of that. If I can do any little quickie videos while I'm there, I might do that. It wouldn't be anything like this, it would be pop in for a few minutes and now I'm mixing up more, so it's changing a little bit. If you're going to do that, just jump around. So could use a bigger brush, and it might be a better thing to do. Need to get back to, I started a painting, I think I told you, of a fireman, my nephew, for a show. I got plenty of time. It's not until March, but I started it and haven't went back to it yet. Trying to keep it very loose. I'm working down toward this slowly before I get into it and start, intermixing them. Just playing around, trying to get a little red in there maybe. Warm it up a little more. Let's see how far we get tonight, you know. My husband's always saying you should work bigger, you know. Trouble is, you know, I have hundreds of paintings. You're storing so many of them, you know. If you work bigger, then I joke, then I'll be storing big ones, right? A little something right there on the canvas. What is that? That could be from my acrylic underpainting. And I don't see, well, I can do whatever I want, but I don't see any sky holes in these trees. It's a pretty thick, but I could put them there if I wanted them. Again, this is not a commission. This is, who would know? It's whatever is more attractive to me. So some people believe in painting feelings, and I like things to be attractive, you know. Boy, the art world's interesting, isn't it? The stuff people buy and the stuff people paint and like, and gosh, I never will understand it. We might get a bigger brush out and pull these together. I'm pulling some of this color down into these trees to pull them back a little bit more. Okay, let's get a clean brush out and do a little blending. And again, it's not a very big brush. I could get a bigger brush and it might make it nicer. Some people use fan brushes, which I never use, but sometimes they use them for just blending like this. Okay, we're going to go back and forth, but then we're going to come back and pull these strokes down because I don't want to leave them. Could leave them like that, I mean, but might feel like clouds. Now, if I was going to make a cloudy sky, for myself anyway, this is when I would go in and introduce cloud shapes into this wet sky. Let me back up and take a look at this. Let's try something. I'm going to grab one of the many fan brushes I have. This, I think, was my mother-in-law's brush. I have lots of her brushes. it down again so we don't catch all the... I'm going to leave it like that for now, I think, and again, I can always come back and change it, you know? That's the thing with the oils. I'm going to cool off a few more of these distant trees. I want to make sure I went far enough here that I'd rather come out into it and correct this shape. So I want to make sure I have the sky pulled in far enough. I think we'll move to the silos. Kind of paint what I see. There's a hole up here that's very dark, and over here too. Kind of a rusty top on it, but I'm mixing up some orange and white. Toward the top of it, it's catching more light, so I want it maybe a little lighter. A big brush. we'll go for a while tonight till we get tired, because this is going to be going on for a while. And I may not bore you with all of it. Let me know if you're interested. I can just show you the progress once in a while instead of like I said, it's kind of a checkered top, but again, I'm trying to be impressionistic, so we might even get a smaller brush out. It's pretty big for what we're doing. I mean, fine for a lot of areas, but let me get the smaller brush that I sketched without. I don't know about you, but I tend to use the same brushes a lot. And I'll use one brush for the whole painting a lot. Behind this, so I'll get behind it so I make a straight line. I find when I get off to the side, I do not do it straight. You know, I don't really. I'm going to put a little of that blue over there because I kind of like that blue on the top. Now this part of it is mostly a gray. There are ribs. I have to decide how, you know, detailed I want to get with it. There's even a little thing on the very tippy top, which we'll decide. All right, so we'll do a gray. Usually I use the 3 primaries for that. I've got some green here, so I'll mix some red into it. And we'll take a look at that. I think it needs to be cooler, so I'll put some blue in it. And there's some areas of it that are darker, so let's do those first. Some dark streaks running down. So it's kind of, again, it's kind of in rows. probably take a palette knife and suggest some of these rows. Kind of following the shape of it, which I do frequently. They run this way, so I'm kind of blocking them in that way. Again, we'll go down low enough onto the roof, so you know, and I may want to get a palette knife out and do the rings, the bands on this. And I don't know if I'll be doing that little kind of stuff on camera. I'm moving you up a little bit. Okay. We'll try it. So you know, you get imperfections when you use a palette knife too, and I don't mind that. Well, I suppose you could be extremely particular with it and not overload, and so it's kind of got a top on it, and then there's a row between there too. Now let's see what it looks like as it runs down. Don't know a whole lot about. I know there are, you know, bands of stuff around them, but you know, and I don't want to over-explain it. You know, I am trying to be impressionistic with it, so. looking at the other one. The other one is gray too, but it's a little warmer. That'll make it different from this one. You know, and there's arguments for it being cooler that would pull it back. So we'll see. I mean, we'll see how it looks. I went too far. That one has blue thing running down it. Also has bands like the one next to it. Should have put the blue thing on last. Move you a little bit. Now I'm going to look at it. Let me get back from it. Make sure that line's there to separate the two. You know, and when we get much further along, you know, we might want to do some touches of the same color in there. You know, I might even want to pull out some phthalo blue and add some dramatic color. I don't know. At this point, I'm just trying to kind of replicate what's there. And I see that nice blue in the top, and I like that. All right, let's move on. Let's, I think we'll do these roofs, which are both very light. I suspect they're metal roofs. They would be catching some of the sky color, of course. So we'll first take some cobalt and white like we made for the sky. Okay. And then we'll put our other two primaries in it. Because I want it to be gray. You know, I do think paintings should be attractive, and sometimes you don't do exactly what you see because it's prettier. I've mentioned her before, but there's a Cincinnati artist named Monica Augberger, and you can look her up. ACH, I think Augberger, Berger maybe. And I would call her a colorist. Her work always just, when I go to an exhibit and her work's there, it just jumps out at you. And she's not always doing exactly what you see, because she kicks up the color, and her colors are beautiful. And she takes a lot of awards, and I suspect she sells well. Her work is very pretty. Well, let me show you a painting I did Monday. It's not finished. It's a still life. I set it up, and I had a black screen behind it, which I frequently do, and a cream colored cloth. So I painted, you know, a dark background and a kind of a gray bottom, and I got it home, and it just, I don't know, I just didn't love it. It was kind of blah. So as you can see, I kind of wiped the background down and put that green background, and I like it so much better. I think it's a lot prettier, a lot more attractive. All right, I'm trying to get you where you can see. I think that's pretty good. All right, I'm kind of looking again at my drawing. I'm going to wipe some of this off. For one thing, I feel like that roof line could come down a little bit. Yeah, I feel like that could come down a little bit. So we'll do that as we paint it in. All right, so I've got a color here that leans toward green. I may put a little more blue in it. And we'll see how that looks. There's some variations in this roof that I don't see in this one. Sometimes they're rusty, these metal roofs, and you can come in and lay in gently, like, you know, a burnt sienna kind of color. So, all right. Now, I don't think that's light enough, so we're going to lighten it up. Because it's pretty light in the photo. I mean, it's a pretty color. And I'm going to lay it on, you know, like a metal roof is. Directional like that. And I'm going to not cover up all my orange. I am really enjoying toning the canvases. I used to do it a lot, but I didn't do it all the time. And sometimes I would do pink, and but I just really like this. And hope to never get so lazy that I don't do it. I'm going to try to always do it. Many reasons to do it. One is the color you get peeking through. Another is you don't have to work so hard to cover up every little bit of your canvas. Again, some people like that. I've seen a lot of artists that I see white peeking through all over. The top of the thing up here, it looks more white and rusty. I'll clean up that edge when I come back with my red. This right here, you know, that won't stay like that. All right, I'm gonna move over to here, and it's a metal roof too, and I do see some patches of other colors. Okay, it overlaps that roof. And it wouldn't have to be the same color, and in the end I may not want it to be the same color. You know, it's not done till you quit and you sign it, so. And I don't yet know how I'm going to handle a lot of stuff. I'm just not going to stress myself out. Like, I don't know how I'll handle that dark area inside of there. Anything I put in there, though, needs to be very dark in value. So if I suggest some things in there, which I probably will, I've got to keep the value dark. But we'll worry about that later. Did you ever see the recording of the little girl that she's trying to buckle her own seatbelt, and Dad's trying to help her, and can I help you? And she's saying, no thank you. You sure you don't need my help? And he's like, what do you want me to do? She said, worry about yourself. Or in her little tiny girl voice, worry about yourself, she says to him. Cutest thing. By the time I post this, somebody probably will have suggested I wipe it off, right? Because I asked. Too late now. You know, it's less about what you paint and more about how you paint it. I have found that to be true. Sometimes people paint subjects that I would never consider painting, and it's about how you paint them. I know I mentioned it, but years ago I saw this guy, he won this competition, and he had painted a Dollar General store. Something I've never considered, but I'll tell you, it was a gorgeous painting. It was at Valentine's Day, that time of the year, so you could see red balloons hanging in there, and there was snow on the ground, and pink light was reflecting down out of the windows onto the ground. It was a gorgeous painting of a Dollar General store. So there you go. I'm feeling like this could come this way a little bit. Can't hurt to do it. Better to overdo it and pull it back. All right, we've been at this an hour. I think we'll call it for now. And I may or may not, obviously do the whole thing on camera. I may get outside again soon. Like I said, the weather's supposed to warm back up. And it's a little early for that kind of detail, but all right, let me back you up and show you where we are. Wait a minute, let me move my computer. Paint all over the computer. Again, we're going to have a lot of foreground. See? So I'm planning on doing that dark to light and a lot of scruffy stuff. So I have to look at and decide. I may have done something here tonight because you just paint, and I have to see how I feel about things. Whether I like what I've done or not. All right, thank you for joining me, and I'll definitely show it to you again, whether or not I do it all on camera. Okay, please like and subscribe if you haven't done that already, and thanks for joining me. Good night.